filter things.
Filters.
Oh, they're
Oh, I
just
know what you're talking about, like the little classy ones.
Yeah.
yeah, the wooden ones.
Oh,
with that.
yeah. I don't know what they are, but I know what you're talking about.
Here's more of the devil's harvest.
Yeah. So this one,
devil's
a vicious
lettuce.
racket with its arms around your children. So sin, degradation, vice, insanity.
When's this one
debauchery.
from?
Now, this one is from the 60s,
Oh,
and this one right here was kind of, and I believe it was actually, I think it was 1958, not quite 1960.
Ooh, okay.
And at the time, they were still kind of, on the theme that there was a religious connotation to marijuana as well. And so weaponizing religion to control your children, we know that kind of happens all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Amongst any religion, you're going to have extremists, right?
Yeah.
So these particular posters were aimed at children who were in churches and Sunday school and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, I'm thinking, you know what? I probably would have never thought of this if you didn't show it to me. But this sounds like a good time. Marijuana, the smoke of hell.
It sounds like because they're still on that kick, because when it wasn't until like the 30s that they started to use the J.
Mm-hmm.
Because so it was only 20 years in, and they're still really pushing that like racist connotation to it. So it's got to be like cartels bringing it in. It's got to be bad people. It's got to be people of color, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
African people or like even
the Mexicans.
The Mexicans, yeah. That's what I was just gonna say. The Mexicans getting behind that, and meanwhile here it could be basically a lot of white people back then doing it too, right?
They were growing up themselves.
They were going
to the freaking country started.
Yeah,
Before it.
Yeah. The Hells Angels.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about their first president was a grower.
That too.
So they want to take that and shove that in their pipe and smoke it.
But that doesn't fit the narrative of the scary dealer, right? The scary cartel dealer, and that's just pretty unfortunate.
Right, and that's the kind of the image they paint with that guy there, right?
Oh, well, he's dark. He's like very scary, and yeah.
It's like he's gonna take your woman. He's gonna come and grab your leg. He's gonna come take your women.
Yeah, and you got the damsel in distress type thing happening there.
Like she don't look happy.
She's the only one smoking though. Let's
right. Yeah, it's because
I think she's influencing him.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's why it's the smoke from hell.
Oh, I can't even see this.
Oh no.
That was our res meme because of the combing.
Oh, here. We're going the wrong way.
Oh,
how bad can a girl get? Oh my God.
You should have said no. What is this?
Stay up.
Well, do you see her breasts are free?
Yep.
Right. So, and she's wearing heels, and she also manages to get a little cuff on, which good for her because. It's the accessories that really make an outfit.
Yeah, the accessories matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You gotta really, you gotta make sure you don't get anything on your wrist when you're,
This is actually a movie poster.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I'll bet you that if we put this on Instagram, they would take it out because there's a nipple.
You think?
Oh, well, probably. Like you. Yeah. That is the most disparaging part is the nipple.
Right. Because white men run all that stuff and they're like offended by nipples.
Well, it could be
true because I saw like all these things too, like women are like threatening to punch each other over breastfeeding. Like, dude, that's how you feed your kid.
Right?
Like, whatever.
Isn't that crazy? Like, stop sexualizing it.
I know, right? Like, stop. Don't do that. Like this poster's bullshit.
It is like that's what I don't even know what to say to it.
This is part of the the messaging that we should be ashamed of our bodies, that when we do things like have drugs or, even something as simple as marijuana, right?
Right.
Basically is just saying, it's still a bad thing and you're still a bad person if you don't say no.
Right.
So at the time, there's no medicinal value whatsoever, even though there are countless cases that were documented where, using the marijuana actually did help in relaxing and reducing.
They used to
And there
use
were
it
some
all kinds.
military trials that were done as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually
We talked
did.
about those too.
Yeah, we did a whole episode actually on the testing of marijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first scene in Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
That whole skit that they did was
It was
actually
based on real stuff.
based on actual facts.
Oh, really?
Loosely based.
We don't really know if we called it the bee's knees, but I can think that it was probably something of the sort.
Right?
For sure. And that's when they were heavily into that mind control and
Yeah.
Yes.
remote viewing and stuff like that. So
Yes.
now this one was a special one. This one is from the early 80s, and it talks about, this Thanksgiving, remember the cranberry sauce, but forget the marijuana. So
They go
that,
great together.
Right?
and Terry was convinced to take a toke of a joint with his friend just to relax. Immediately after, Terry killed his friend who had given him the marijuana in a murderous craze. Not so safe, is it? Marijuana. Not even once.
Like what?
That's some shit.
Right?
So I'm thinking Terry may have taken a toke of a joint that was laced with PCP or
Right.
something similar, but it's not. No. That's
Or
not-
he
Or he
just
actually
had,
did forget the marijuana. It was just angel dust.
or he just had to toke just like tobacco or whatever,
yeah.
and he
Maybe
had
it was
some-
already crazy.
Yeah, he's already has mental issues, so
Right.
like that's why he murdered him.
Right?
Well, the fact that it happened over Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Right? Who
Like,
gives a shit?
Yeah, buddy's like toking on marijuana and then like killing his buddy. Like,
Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Like, what?
Oh, no. You know what it is? It's this Thanksgiving. You know what? Things are reminding you of murders,
Yeah. Have a great time,
Speaking,
everyone.
speaking of murder, this guy murdered himself. Or murdered his buddy.
So
Well,
I thought that was
genocide.
Yeah, while you're celebrating genocide,
This guy murdered
Yeah,
somebody.
this guy murdered somebody, so you can celebrate him too.
He made a sacrifice for the day.
just one continuation, right? Terry was
Very
feeling
on
his
tradition.
ancestors.
Right?
It's not. He didn't even. What he did wasn't even bad.
Yeah.
Carried on tradition.
Right? He's like, this is what we do.
Absolutely.
This is what everyone
Oh
does.
my god, I never even thought of it that way. Oh, this is completely acceptable. They've done it for hundreds of years.
Right. It's just human sacrifice.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's be real. That's all it is.
It's just.
So they went from being very artistic and very coming from a place of suggesting to just full out campaigning marijuana is directly related to murderous rampages, especially around the holidays.
Yeah, like,
So
and when in actuality it'd be legit the complete opposite of that.
Yeah, the guy that has his weed be like, all right, well, you know what? I'm gonna smoke this then. And okay, yeah, maybe.
yeah,
I won't do
maybe
that.
so.
Yeah, he'd be chill and be like, okay, it's Thanksgiving, like, fucking let's eat.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely. I thought so. This actually was one of my favorites because it was so out there that I just couldn't really fathom that this was actually a national strategy that was used during the Reagan era.
Like it's even got the thing down there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
the Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan era.
Marijuana.
Marijuana.
Weird orgies, weird parties, unleashed passions. You know what this reminds me of is the year one.
So
Yeah.
if you notice, there's a needle involved in this one.
Yeah, what's that
Yeah,
about?
what the hell?
And that's a good question, because from everything that I've been able to find, there is no injectable cannabis use. I just,
Even if you did try to inject it, would it not be like lethal?
well, no, there could be, like
Like what you're trying to put in here?
methods, but the fact that they're just using a straight up needle into the fat tissue.
Oh,
just-
and I was like thinking like they're like main vein and shit.
No. So so that was something I was like, and I'm also looking at the guy and I'm like, well, isn't he a doctor?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening at these parties?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So there was a lot of things that they did say, that it caused depression, that it caused schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia, first event type of things for mental health issues. So this was a narrative that's been pushed, and still to this day is pushed about
Against marijuana.
Yeah, against marijuana.
And women using it.
And women using it, yeah.
Oh, and it's always the women who are the victim here, instead of being, like responsible for and accepting their role.
Because look at this guy.
That's why I say he looks like a doctor.
And then look at her.
And look at her. She looks really happy there.
Yeah. But down here, it's like, oh.
But then, like, why in the picture do they have to like have her breasts exposed almost? Like, have her sexualized is what I mean.
Yeah. So I just think this is the whole damsel in distress narrative. She's not really doing it herself. It's somebody else who's doing it to her.
I was like, if the needle was just down here, it could be like a metaphor, but he's like actually sticking it in her arm.
Yeah.
You're injecting yourself with misery, but no, like he's actually sticking it in her arm here. So there's something happening.
They're clearly using a different drug.
What are these vials?
Like I said, he looks like a doctor. He looks like a doctor to me.
Yeah, that's messed up.
So the marijuana.
Reefer Madness.
Yeah. This was another
movie.
So this is another movie poster, it's Marijuana, Reefer Madness, and it's basically just talking again about how it makes women into whores and makes men into just, like voracious sex kittens, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of it's hard to follow some of these train of thought, like how, I don't know. But I do know everybody believes in this, in these parts, that weed obviously came from hell instead of down the road,
like marijuana, it'll turn guys into slime balls and women into whores. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's villainizing everything.
So, is it any surprise to you guys that the campaign that has been waged against marijuana, that people are still apprehensive of taking part? Like,
well, because it's literally been like a war, an unwinnable war on drugs that they've been waging, because they're just hypocrites.
They are.
Mm-hmm. And I just don't.
Starting poppy fields and shit, and like,
Well, and that's it. They're
like supplying the heroin. They're supplying. We know they supplied the crack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and staying away from the gateway drug marijuana allowed you to still go ahead and do those other things. But I'm not going to become an addict because I never did the marijuana.
Exactly.
Marijuana.
So, I didn't smoke marijuana, so I can smoke crack once. Boom, you're a crackhead.
You're a crackhead.
I love it.
Yeah.
So the next one right here, and this is a really early one. This is 1915, and like, just look at this right here. Is the Mexican nation locoed by a peculiar weed? And
Locoed even. They have to go and use the
The Mexican word for crazy.
Yeah. So the deadly marijuana
Spanish word,
rule.
sorry.
And that's where they have to go try to villainize it, right? That's their
Yeah.
attempt at villainizing
Absolutely.
the language.
Yeah.
And look at the guys. They put the picture right there. Now this is out of Utah, and you have to remember that this is primarily a religious state.
Oh
right?
yeah.
These guys are devout in their religious beliefs, and anybody who seems different, looks different, well, then they need to be demonized completely. So it's they talk about how smoking marijuana provides people with some bravery, and they also call them greasers. So it's just like, like
I saw something about that term. I can't remember what it was, but there was like different terms for a greaser.
well, it has to do with the hair,
Yeah, greaser, and what's the other one? A jock, and then there was what's the one for the girls there? No, I keep wanting to say call girls, but it's not call girls.
Valley girls.
Are you thinking about
Pin
movies
girls.
again?
Pin
Okay.
girls.
Pin-up
girls. Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, what?
I thought
Yeah.
he was going to start going towards movies again here. We did that before.
What?
We were in some episode of something else, and we were talking about philosophy, and then you started to go into fucking Harry Potter. No, you started to go into the Avengers.
The Avengers.
And I'm
Oh
like-
yeah, that was with Cynthia.
And I'm like, yo, we're
No,
not
because-
even not talking. We were talking about movies though, but you were like straight up into the movie.
Yeah, because she was talking about the Infinity Stones.
Right.
So I was like, the kind in like the Infinity Gauntlet. And she was like, yeah. So I was like,
No, she didn't say it like
I was
that.
like, get the fuck
She
out
did not
here.
say it like that.
And I was like, get out of here. like
She
that.
did not say it. She was like, yeah.
And I was like, really? So he snapped his fingers like that, and she's like, what?
Both of us at the same time, were like, what? But yeah. It was
So yeah, so this right here is just another racist attempt to control the minds of their youth, and while also effectively demonizing anybody who dresses or acts out of their normal standards.
out of the standards that have been set.
Yeah.
Oh,
What the hell?
This one right here was like really kind of distressing because they only kept the ads up for 2 weeks, and the Oregon the end there at the time, ORG was only allowed to be used by like certain federally recognized organizations.
Oh
right?
yeah.
yeah.
So again, this is sort of, this is in the 90s, 2000s, and the outcry.
So this would be like government funded.
This would be government funded.
Yeah, and all of a sudden they didn't know who it was who paid for it. They just know that. So they only lasted for about 2 weeks, these ads. And the fact that the girl that was used in the picture was so emaciated, and she was just it was
She
was
a victim of something.
she
and
was
taken
white, she was blonde, and according to the narrative at the time, people like her couldn't be a victim,
right.
So-
Because that's what they want you to believe.
But
yeah.
like, why does she look like she was beaten?
Right?
Hey,
And
you know what?
starved, like,
Yeah.
locked up and
And the reality was at the time that people like her did exist on the streets, and that they were, suffering from addictions that had nothing to do with marijuana.
Exactly.
yeah.
And so
But that's the narrative they want to make, right?
Yeah.
absolutely. And that was something, and we talked about that, Andrew, about how, being on our individual platforms, making sure that what we were looking at and what we were doing was
Oh,
good,
here we go.
was good.
Hi, Auntie Muffin, we're back.
Just all surprised. Oh shit!
Oh yeah, because like we were ripping bongs there, and like
There you are, right?
we were quietly ripping bongs, and I'm like just kind of going like that. I was like, oh, this is now I'm high. It's like hi.
And she's on TV.
And you're on TV.
So anyway.
So, anyways, I'm sorry to have interrupted you.
No worries. So I think for this session, I think we're pretty good as far as, you know, talking about how since the 1900s, how marijuana has been demonized and then where it is now.
Yeah. Like
I know that we had set up a few more sessions between us where we can talk about what it actually does and what inhalation is versus ingestion. And I know for me, ingestion works better for me, but some people still like, you know, inhaling it. And I think it depends really on the individual preference. It's not necessarily something that, you know, to get the optimal sort of treatment for whatever condition or whatever you're treating medically, but also that if there's recreational use, you know, it can be kind of taken both ways as well.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, have you guys heard of any transdermal patches or anything like that that are kind of on the market now?
Very, very low key though. They're still, I feel like, in the development stages yet. Like there's been what do you call them?
Trials?
Yeah, trial, like, and testers. We've gotten two, I think, back when we were at. I brought us two. They are sort of like edibles in the sense that that's the kind of high you get, but it was a slower release.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that was for the pain part of that.
Targeting.
Yeah.
The pain part of that.
Yeah. So a treatment method rather than kind of, because I kind of like, I like sort of use it for its medicinal properties. And I know that you guys kind of, you know, Andrew, we've talked about this, you know, a great deal, but also using it as sort of a, I don't like to say recreational, but sometimes being able to bring balance back to how your mood is.
Yeah,
right?
it is balancing. It just brings you, it's like it snaps you back.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of the recreational use always kind of gets me, because I'm thinking, well, you know what? I've seen when you're really anxious and you're not able to stand around with us and you're not able to, you know, stick it out. And then the difference when you do have, you know, a joint and you're kind of, and even though it seems recreational, I don't think it is. And I don't think a lot of people use it like as much of recreational as the government pushes.
Right. So like if I'm somewhere and I smoke a joint, I'll probably stay longer. Whereas if I'm there and I'm not going to smoke, I'll probably just fuck off.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you like, for especially in media, sometimes being able to just kind of open up and talk and hear things, you need to stick around, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I like our laws where you can just stand anywhere and smoke where you can smoke tobacco. And that's right up in their laws. And I'll stick that in the description too.
That's legit.
Yeah, and so I'm just wondering, like, are you guys hearing any sort of flack about, you know, like smoking it? Like, are people saying, well, you're kind of doing the exact same thing with the marijuana that was done with the tobacco? Because tobacco is natural too. It's just the process that it goes through, adding the formaldehyde, adding other carcinogens to make it flavored and, you know, last longer. Right?
Well, not just that, but making you addicted to it as well, right?
It's got all that
for sure.
this stuff. It doesn't have anything in it,
No, yeah.
and the flavor is natural.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and medicinal product and value to it. Like
Mhm.
there's actual like proven scientific value to it. Whereas
Mhm.
with like cigarette tobacco, it proves that it'll kill you.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but you can't eat tobacco.
Right, you can't eat tobacco.
You can
Gross.
eat cannabis.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's so many.
Yeah,
different-
good point. Good point. Because that was something that, until you just said that, I just didn't even consider. I've never eaten a
Yeah,
tobacco muffin.
a tobacco leaf. Oh,
Yeah, well, like if you've ever done chew, like try and swallow that.
throw up.
Just thinking,
Yeah.
oh,
Remember when we were in high school and our science teacher told us that she was chewing, like she went to Columbia, so she had to chew on like one of the cocaine leaves because they were going higher in altitude.
word,
And
yeah,
we were like, that was so cool because our
Yeah.
told us she did coke.
right?
Yeah. And one of the things that I had found out in nursing, especially end of life care, was smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, which obviously is individual choice, but it also decreased the ability for certain treatments to be effective.
Okay.
And so that's something that isn't necessarily happening because of the cannabinoids that are specifically made for THC and CBD signals, right? So
Yeah.
it,
We have like some of those properties in our body already doing
Yeah.
that. Like so.
well, yeah, and that's what it is. I'm like, well, why do we have
Enhancing
why do we have chemicals that will connect to marijuana if we hadn't evolved and used it a great deal for a long period of time, right?
Exactly. Whereas
So-
alcohol is like literally called out kills the spirit. Like
Yeah, and even with alcohol, like I think there's the thought that we didn't have alcohol here. We didn't have distilled alcohol here.
No.
There's a lot of fermenting that
Yeah.
can take place, and so the other thing as well, just the tobacco wasn't smoked as sort of a leisure thing.
No,
it
and
was
then
used as a ceremonial thing. It was the Thanksgiving thing.
yeah, and it wasn't inhaled as much.
Yeah.
You put it in your mouth and you hold those words, and then you
You
let it
exhale,
out.
yeah.
You hold those
Yeah.
words where you speak, and then
Because
Yeah,
if you've
and I-
ever done
fuck
traditional
off with that though.
tobacco, I was gonna say yelling at me. Yeah, you've been the
I
one
couldn't
holding
over
on.
there.
Yeah. If you've ever done actual pure traditional tobacco and tried smoking that before, holy mess! Like try inhaling that anti-muffin, your throat will
Hurt for days.
burn.
Yeah, I don't want my throat to burn because I choose.
I made that
Burn, baby,
mistake.
burn.
I
I
made
choose-
that mistake.
I choose
Oh,
marijuana instead.
Well, it's just because
Choose
like
marijuana instead.
well, like I'm used to smoking cigarettes, right? So when I
So-
got that, I was like,
So
Not so stoic after all, aren't you?
yeah.
So on 420, you're gonna smoke
Yes.
with us on 420, right?
I don't know if I'll smoke, but I'll certainly take a
Well,
gummy.
you'll join us.
You'll be there.
You'll be around. You'll be around.
You'll
I'll be
be
around for sure.
Cool.
But
So,
I look forward to talking again sometime, guys.
I
yes.
was gonna say Elena's gonna be there. Elena's gonna be there, and she wants to. She talked about the recreational thing too,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so
Okay.
that'll be a good talk.
That
But
will be
yeah,
a great talk.
It's been an awesome time.
It's been
and,
an amazing time, Anti-Muffin.
Be good to
As
talk.
always, guys. On a
All right.
good
Oh, no.
On a good one.